Here we go, the very first episode. Man, chopping it up with Roger Cador. I'm Perry White, and he's the legend himself. Roger Cador, the guy that everybody has loved and grown to know, not only in Baton Rouge, but not only just the nation, but around the world. What's going on, Coach?
I'm doing good. Perry, how are you?
Good. I'm getting Perry now. Hey.
Well, it's just a matter. You'll get it. You'll get it. Just give me time.
For a lot of people who don't know, Coach Cador and I met while he was still the coach at Southern University. I was a student doing my own thing, a YouTube channel, and he and I met. And for some reason there, I think maybe he heard somebody call me PJ, but I've been PJ ever since. So don't be surprised if you guys hear PJ at some point in this show. Don't worry, it's still me, Perry. Coach, first time doing a podcast, YouTube, a live. For you, what is this like transitioning, going from television and now being able to do something a little bit different in the technology age?
Well, you know, the thing that podcasts will allow is to carry a conversation and go more in depth than television allowed, because you were dealing with that time frame, and there were just certain things you just had to hit and go to the next thing. But I think podcasts can let you dive into something, and you can maintain that conversation for a longer period of time.
And something I think is interesting, you've been around young people your entire life throughout your coaching career. Has been around young people through those different generations been able to keep you on your toes in terms of keeping up with technology as it advanced throughout the years?
Well, I don't know much about technology, but I really enjoyed the great experience being around young people, all the things that they've taught me. See, I had to be a good person to listen to them, because they would call me in and say, "Coach, you have to hear this." Where in 1985, I didn't have to do it. But in 2010, the kids had to call me in on the carpet and explain some things to me in a different manner that wasn't always the case. You sort of had to, to win kids over, you have to give in to some of their demands. Now, discipline, you don't have to give in on, but there are some things that kids are accustomed to. And you have to understand that. In order to get the most out of them, you have to conform a little to that custom.
And you talk about when you first started up back in the day. What was the first year you started coaching?
Basketball, 1980.
And what was it like then when you talk about recruiting a student during that time and getting the student to realize what it is that you were doing compared to, you said in 2010, you saw the differences. What was it like then? Was it more letter writing and being more showing up in person?
Well, you had much more control of kids in the 80s. You could discipline in a group. You know, if one person did something, you could discipline everybody. But later on, you had to deal with individual. You couldn't be as tough as we say back in the days. You can be tough. You had to be kind and gentle. And one of the reasons, too, is that administrators were not as strong. The parents could call and say anything, and administrators give in to the unbarren parent, not knowing that, you know, the coach still understands. Coaches are trying to win for the most part. Coaches are usually not in the business to harm kids, even though we've had some bad actors have harmed kids, but for the most part, we're in that profession to help kids.
What was your first time texting? Can you remember your first time having to send a text?
I can't remember. I can't, but I remember the first time I got one, I didn't know what I was getting. They were texting me, and I had no idea it was a text.
Yeah.
So, but that's a learning experience. I've learned just enough to be able to survive this Apple phone.
You know, I remember first time my mom and grandma My grandmother actually learned how to text before my mom. My mom refused to get with it. She wanted to call, but my grandmother, once she figured it out, that was all she wanted to do at that point. So I'm always curious for the different generations. And even myself, I find myself still trying, even when I'm calling to pay bills, I'd rather talk to somebody sometime than having to go through the machine. Are you kind of the same way?
Yeah, I'm a talker. I remember being on the MLB Major League Baseball Diversity Committee. And we were having a staff meeting in New York. And I couldn't figure out how to turn my phone on silence. I mean, we're in this meeting. I mean, and finally, Kim M., who is the general manager for the Marlins, she always sat next to me in this meeting. And Kim said, "Coach, give me your phone." And she hit it, and I looked and saw the little red, and she winked and she said, "I explained to you." After we had a break, she said, "That's the way you can still see who is calling, and it won't disturb the meeting." So it was 2014. So it was only 8 years ago. I learned that was the way to do it. And I think about 4 years ago, I learned that you can press a button rather than type, and you can talk. And leave your message. So all of those things it's a progress. It's a motion, action in motion.
And especially since COVID, now you have a lot of things where you don't have to be in person. Have you done any Zoom calls?
Yes.
Yeah. What is Zoom calls like now that you don't have to be in person? You just set up your phone or your laptop and just talk from there for you.
Well, I like Zoom. Matter of fact, I have one to do at 5 o'clock today. I have a Zoom call, and being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, we did our meetings on Zoom call, which is really good. And what we're finding out now, a lot of people got used to that Zoom call. They don't want to come back, and because it's the comfort of your home, you can do a lot more things. You know what I'm saying? You still have to dress reasonable, but you don't have to do. You can walk around in your slippers if you wanted to.
Let's dive right into it, to give people an introduction of who you are if they don't know. A legendary coach, won a lot of games and championships at Southern. You were pretty much the guy that was the foundation of that program to get it to what it is now in that national spotlight. Talk about building that program and coming into Southern. Of course, the resources aren't there as you see at some of those bigger programs, but for you, having to go out and find resources in order to have a program that ultimately became successful for what people know it as today.
Well, I'm not the foundation of the program. Southern has always had a pretty good baseball program. Matter of fact, they were the first baseball team in the state of Louisiana, to win a national championship. And they did that in 1959 with the legendary Lou Brock as a member of that team. So it's obviously Southern has had a really good team. They had, in 1975, they had the very number one player taken in the draft, Danny Goodwin, who I played with. So, and to say that I'm the architect of that, no, I'm not.
Okay.
What happened is that baseball had taken a dive down, and they had no facilities, and they had lost credibility to some degree. I was able to come in and work hard and restore some of that. Now, I tell a story that I was that guy for this challenge because it was a major, major challenge. Not just not having it, but dealing with the administration and everything. It was a major, major challenge. But I was the guy to do it, to navigate everything and to get things done. And when they wouldn't give me anything, I found ways to find resources because I talked to everybody. What was so funny is that when they wouldn't help me build a baseball field, I talked to a guy at a convention in Nashville, Tennessee, from Pullman, Washington.
Where from?
Pullman, Washington.
I don't even
way
know
up in the Pacific Northwest. And I got to him, and he and I had never met the guy, and he took a liking to me. He said, come back here tomorrow. I got something I want to show you. I found him the next day. He said, this is the way you can get your baseball field built. He said, we built one up in Pullman where the National Guards did it for no cost. That was I got excited. And he said, when I get back home, I'm going to send you more details. Mm-hmm. And he did. He sent them to me. I made the call to the National Guard. And it took me 2 years of calling. You know how many people give up?
Ooh, a lot.
And the guy was laughing. He said, the National Guard guy said, we don't work fast. We work 1 week out of a weekend out of the month. So he said, we ain't fast. Finally, I got him to come in and survey and show that the field could put there. Then the big job. I had to go to New Orleans and talk to a big guy about getting equipment to move dirt. And I got him to a guy from Arkansas. He was from Arkansas.
You remember what part? That's
No,
my
I don't
neck
know
of the
that.
woods now. It's my neck of the woods.
Yeah, but he was from the state of Arkansas. And we got those equipment approved, and we started moving. Then I needed money. I didn't have no money. I needed some seed money, so to speak.
Yeah.
Howard White, who is a top choice president and owner, was the student government president. I went to him and told him, I said, man, can we get the students to raise a few dollars so we could get started? He said, Coach, that's a good one. I like to do that project. He got the students to approve it. $13,500. In 1986, 87, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Maybe. Not enough, but that was seed money. So I got the thing moving, was able to purchase some dirt and sand, and we still were so far away. But for some reason, that money kept stretching. It's like you're too young to know that. My parents, my mother in particular, knew how to stretch food. They knew how to make it last. And that's what kept happening with the dollars. $13,000 is not a lot. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, that thing stretched out. We got all the dirt done. And the National Guard did not charge me for the diesel or gas that they burned, which was one of the things in the contract that we would have to pay for that. That went away. Well, we needed a fence to put around there once we got that done. Remember, I'm working with $13,500.
Yeah.
Got a man who had done a lot of fence in this area, Mr. Ed Barnes. You got to remember some of them names. And he laughed and he said, Coach, that fence is going to cost you $8,000. I said, well, Mr. Bond, okay, let's do it. And when he got through, that fence ended up costing me $2,000.
Really?
He fenced around this. I mean, it was just such an amazing turn of event. When you talk to people and you ask for help, what can happen, They knew what I was trying to do had beneficial value. I'm trying to help young people. It's a coach that's trying. He's not fussing. He's asking. Then after I got that done, I know it's a long story. I'm going all over the place, but I went to the mayor. Yeah. The mayor, Tom Ed McCune, was the mayor. Gary Risponi, a good Italian man, took me in there, and we went and we bypassed the secretary and went and talked to Tom Ed.
You walked in with business on your mind, didn't you?
Well, yeah. I didn't like walking by the secretary, but the guy, we were laughing. And Tom Ed set me down, and he looked. We were looking out the window at the Mississippi River. He said, Coach, I'm going to help you. He said, you deserve this. The kids in North Baton Rouge deserve it. Okay. He went in and He brought some business people in, and he made it happen. He made it happen. And then we got Turner Industry to kick in, and we got Dykes Electric. That's how we got the lights up. I mean, when you start the point out of businesses just was amazing. And so that's how I got all of that done in a nutshell.
And where were you guys practicing and playing at before you was able to get that
Wherever
stadium?
we could practice.
Mm-hmm.
We practiced, that was not a field, so where the baseball office is built, we practiced there. Mm-hmm. There was no field. We had a batting cage. And when football wasn't practicing on the practice football field, which where we really practiced.
And man, you talk about those years. What did it look like in terms of a timeline to get all this together for you? Because you had to have patience. You said nothing happened overnight, especially with the National Guard perspective over a 2-year span just to get the dirt and get the ground leveled off. Because I've seen that level out there.
With the National Guard, 5 years.
5 years.
You know, so, but, you know, 5 years, and it took 5 years with the National. Can you imagine again how many people give up? Mm-hmm. Can't see it, couldn't see the forest for the trees. But I stuck in there, and with the baseball stadium, it took about 8 years. About 8 years. But it took me 16 years to build the dressing room. So you could see where patience was a virtue. Mm-hmm. And you had to outlast people who was loaded with foolishness, and their whole effort was to deny. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Deny them that. Don't let them get this. Deny this. And there were some people who did a good job of denying. They weren't denying me. They were denying young people. You see, I have a philosophy. I've always been able to say, I've reached the things I'm going to do. I've always gotten there. Those people weren't going to stop me. But they're going to stop that kid who doesn't have the patience, doesn't have the insight, you understand? And who, most of all, who need help. That's where the problems come in.
Well, let's get ready to take a break. We got to pay some bills, but it's Chopping Up with Roger Cador. I'm Perry White. He's the legend himself, Roger Cador. We'll be right back.
Locks rekeyed or a wide variety of new and used safe? Then look no further than the trusted choice of Alfred Safe and Lock. Conveniently located off of Government Street in Mid-City, Baton Rouge. Trust the expert locksmith at Alfred for all of your residential, commercial, and industrial lock and safe needs. Trusted by Baton Rouge and me, Roger Cador, to protect what is yours since 1946.
Take your fun full throttle with a single touch. There are places to fly high, swing low, or make the old bell ring. Your targets are in sight. Better your game by playing ball of almost every variety. Need to catch your breath? There's a place for that too. Countless ways to play beyond the swing sets. Breck, we're more than a playground. Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights, gravitate towards something out of this world, even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. Breck, we're more than a playground.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Chopping it up with Roger Cador. I'm Perry White, also aka PJ, and he's Roger Cador. It's a funny story. You're gonna hear that a lot, Coach. You know, the very first episode for you, man. You're transitioning television for so long. Talk about your television experience, the Roger Cador show that you had for so long, and what was that like when you finally had your opportunity to get on TV and show everybody this personality of yours?
Well, TV was easier, and I did this show with Clarence Buggs for 16 years. And Clarence is the consummate professional. I mean, he does it, make it easy because he's got such a vast amount of experience. But this is a whole new situation. It's obviously more relaxing, and you're quite younger, and you know, and I just look forward to the experience.
Yeah. You know, now that we're moving forward with this show, everybody, you be able to catch us every Monday. We're going to do a live show every Monday at 10 o'clock. Be sure to go on YouTube and find what you see right there at the bottom, Chopping It Up with Roger Cador. We're all over YouTube. Also, Facebook. Coach Cador has social media, Facebook as well as Instagram. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free. I know you guys pay for all those other subscriptions. You get your ESPN Pluses and your Netflix. But guess what? This one costs you nothing. It is free to subscribe and support, and as well as share and let other people know what we're doing here, because with a personality like this sitting next to me, man, you got to tune in to be able to hear these stories of all the years of experience and just all the places you've traveled to hear that, because I think so many people for so long have just seen you as Coach Roger Cador, but this is an opportunity for people to be able to see you as Roger Cador, right?
Yeah, it's a good thing, and people need to understand that even though we had a lot of success at Southern, you know, I'm never going to tell people I was a great coach. I had really good players. And that was the one thing I understood early, that if I was going to be successful, I had to have good players. And I went out and got good players and worked hard at it.
You know, I hear this accent for a lot of people who may not be Louisiana. Where's your background in terms of where you're from to have this accent of yours?
Well, you know, I'm Haitian descent, so that's my accent. I never lost it. And there was some people who left, didn't want to have it. And for me, I never tried. I didn't know I had anything. I was struggling to talk anyway. Why try to work on, you know, change something when you got to try and improve what you already have?
Mm-hmm. How did you end up at Southern? What, you know, you come from, like you said, a Haitian background, and you get this opportunity to go to college. For you to change your life and ultimately find this career to be this legendary coach that you are, how did that happen for you?
Well, as a student, I went to Southern on a basketball scholarship, and
you were a hooper.
A hooper.
Okay.
And ended up playing baseball and basketball at Southern. And
which would you say you were probably better at?
I don't know.
Oh,
I wasn't that good anyway.
Could you dunk?
Yeah, I could dunk.
Okay.
I didn't really dunk in college. I could.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that good of a player in basketball or baseball. I was potential. Mm-hmm. I guess I had potential, And I never looked at myself as being good, and that's what helped me. A lot of people say they're good. Once you say you're good, you better go out and prove that you're good. You have, and so many people set themselves up for failure. I always left room for improvement and to work hard. You see what I'm saying? And so I was going to outwork most people anyway.
You had that opportunity. Who was influential in terms of your time at Southern?
Well, most people would pick in the dart, but I was going to say a young man by the name of Buck Jones, who was ended up being my teammate in baseball.
Say his name again. What was his name?
Buck Jones.
Buck Jones. Okay.
Arthur Buck Jones from Vero Beach, Florida. Just a brilliant student, should have been a doctor. But he recognized something in me that says, this guy need help. When I first got there, and he came out of his, we lived in suites, and he came out and he said, hey, big guy, hey, we need to take the same classes. And I said, okay. And he tutored me and tutored me. You know, we're 18-year-old. They don't do that. That's not what they do. But he did it. And he tutored me, and I listened, and I followed him. And we took the classes. And this guy was an A student, brilliant in the physics, math, and science. Just had a... And I said to him one day, man, why are you not majoring in biology or math? I said, you could be a doctor. No, I want to be a teacher. I said, Buck, you sure? I said, you ain't got to do this for me. He said, don't worry about it, kid. Just come on. And boy, we did everything. We went to eat together, even though we were never roommates. Whenever he was going to eat, he would knock and or call and say, hey, man, let's go to eat. I would do the same. And when we go play basketball on the weekends, he and I always played together, played 2-on-2, and we beat everybody. We would beat everybody.
So he had the skills as well.
Well, we understood what was going to win.
Yeah.
We had the Boston Celtics philosophy, pick and roll, give and go. And we could do that with precision. And guys couldn't defend that. And that's how Boston Celtics won all of those championships with basic fundamental basketball. Pick and roll, give and go.
You talk about a guy 18 saying, let's take the same classes. I'm thinking in my head, let's go to the same parties, right?
Yeah, never. Well, I didn't go to any party, so I don't know if he did, but I didn't go to one party. I was such an introvert.
Really? You?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I couldn't. I know I would be out of place, so I didn't go to any parties.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that. I stayed in my room. I studied. I had a routine, and I never went away from it.
I find that hard to believe. To see Roger Cador not speaking and talking to many people and staying to yourself.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah.
And the one thing is, even though I played 2 sports, I never missed one day of class when I was on campus. Every class I went to. Just the kind of discipline that I had to have. If I didn't have it, no way I was going to be successful. I was so far behind because of my background. You know, I did have the foundation for the reading, write, and arithmetic. You got me? So I had to, every moment, take advantage of it to soak in knowledge. So I never missed one day of class. Never missed. Didn't go to one party.
Would you say those principles that your friend Buck gave, that helped you as a coach when you started to look at the importance of helping young people?
I talked about it all the time. But you can't make kids do it if it's not in them. You see, you can't put something in someone that's not there for you to be able to nourish. You got me? What Buck had was unique. It was a unique situation where he saw someone. He's from Florida, I'm from Louisiana. He's brilliant, I'm not. But he must have seen something in me that made him say that. We hadn't met each other both for a couple of times. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
So it's a unique situation you just don't find. I had guys, I used to beg guys who were really good students to help the less fortunate one. They weren't going to do that. That's not what they did. It wasn't in their heart. And, there are some situations where some really, 2 or 3 really great players left Southern. And kids could have stopped them. And they didn't. Because they wanted them to leave because they realized that person was better than them. And they didn't care.
You know what we call them? We call them haters.
That's what I call them. And I would go back and fuss and tell them, how could you do that? You saw the guy had the kind of talent that was unique, but he didn't have the support from the family at home to say, don't come home, son. Stay there. One kid from East St. Louis, Illinois.
That's a tough place.
Tough place. I've been there. Tough place. But I got him out of there. Kid needed to be in school. One day before I got him in school. And I told him, I said, I'll get you in school tomorrow. Kid get left that night. My nephew was on that, knew that boy was leaving, and he didn't even call me to tell me that. And I told him, I said, one day you're going to have a son and you're going to watch out. You let that kid leave, don't do that. Why not call me? Those kind of people don't come around that often. He was such a special player. But he needed mentoring. He needed nurturing. Someone to show him that they cared about him. It's hard to get those kind of players. And they let him leave. They let a kid from Atlanta leave like that. You know, when we were coming up, we would have never done that. We would have found a way to talk to him. Because players talking to each other really can help a lot.
Yeah.
You know, they can give them the confidence, we care about you.
And sometimes you can get exposed, like you said, you met a guy, Buck, from Florida, who may have been exposed to a little bit more and was able to open the door for you to be exposed. Same thing happened to me when I first started college. I met a guy from Overland Park, Kansas, my best friend to this day, Kevin Glover, man. He exposed me to a different way of life, to where he lived compared to the way that I grew up and lived. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I had not seen before. And still to this day, we're best friends. And so I understand what you mean when you're saying being able to have that opportunity. And some people have that opportunity, but you have so many people in your corner that'll try to pull you back because they see you going places while they're still standing still.
Yeah. And goes to show you, I want to fast forward with that Buck. In 1973, I got drafted by Atlanta Brave. And they brought us in, and I begged the Braves to sign Buck Jones. Buck was a really good player. I said, y'all probably should have drafted Buck rather than me. That's what I said to them. How many people would have said that?
Not a lot of people, because a lot of people worry about themselves.
If the man is still alive, Paul Snyder, if he's still alive, I said, Buck, y'all should have drafted me, Buck rather than me. He was a better player than me. But I had something that, I was the only player drafted off that team, which was loaded with talent. And I couldn't understand, why am I the one getting drafted when I'm truly not the best player on the team?
And I like that you're so humble about it, because when I asked were you good at these sports, you said, well, I was all right. But here you are getting drafted by the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah. But goes to show you, I didn't forget Buck Jones.
Yeah.
The point was, see, God knows that I thought about him, and I said to them, y'all should have drafted him rather than me. Not a lot of people would do that. Because truly, he was a better player than me.
Yeah.
And it hurt. It really hurt that he didn't get drafted. But that's the way I was. And I think all of the good fortune that I've had in my life has been because of understanding who I am. Most people don't understand who they are. They'll lie to themselves and try to make themselves be something they are not. I was no more than, I was not very much. And I understood that.
But you made the best of your opportunities. And thankful for you, Buck came into a round, man, and was able to see that potential in you.
Well, it was God involved. That's all that was.
That's
it.
it.
It couldn't have happened. No. How else could Buck have known that I needed the help I needed? Other than I mean, we hadn't met each other that much. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, listen, man. It's just like when they cut me. The coach cut me in high school in basketball when I went out and he cut me.
Really?
Yeah, I got cut. And the next day I went back.
You had something to prove.
Well, I didn't know better. I went back and
Well, Coach said, "What are you doing here, Roger?"
well, he was my ride home.
Oh,
because
okay.
we live in a rural area, so I had to. He was my ride home, and man, we didn't even talk in that car.
Really?
And you know, and then I went back the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I kept going back, and he kept dropping me off. He wouldn't drop me off at home. He'd make sure I walk.
Oh.
And I often told him, I said, you know, I know you were trying to make me quit because I was just that terrible. He said, you were pretty bad, you know.
But you were persistent.
Persistent. And before the year's out, I got better. Then the next year I got better. Then he started taking me all the way home because I got better by the second year I played. And then the third year I got better, and by the fourth year I really got better. That's what Southern offered me the scholarship, you know, because I really got better. And that was an athletic director by the name of Dean Jones. His son is U.S. Jones, Ulysses.
Ulysses S.
We
Jones,
ended up playing together, and he saw me play against them. He said, man, you were really good. He said, that's why I'm offering you this scholarship.
Man.
Yeah, so, but that is, it's just, if people think less of themselves and more of other people, things would be a lot better. Jesus did that. I mean, he's a fine example when he said he think less of himself.
Well, let's get ready to take a break. We got to pay some bills, but we're going to come back. I'm Perry White. He's Roger Cador. It's Chopping Up with Roger Cador. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Locks rekeyed or a wide variety of new and used safe? Then look no further than the trusted choice of Alfred Safe and Lock. Conveniently located off of Government Street in Mid-City, Baton Rouge. Trust the expert locksmith at Alfred for all of your residential, commercial, and industrial lock and safe needs. Trusted by Baton Rouge and me, Roger Cador, to protect what is yours since 1946.
Take your fun full throttle with a single touch. There are places to fly high, swing low, or make the old bell ring. Your targets are in sight. Better your game by playing ball of almost every variety. Need to catch your breath? There's a place for that too. Countless ways to play beyond the swing sets. BRAC, we're more than a playground. Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights, gravitate towards something out of this world, even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. BRAC, we're more than a playground.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Chopping it up with Roger Cador. I'm P. White, Perry White, aka PJ. He's Roger Cador. Man, we got to get a little bit more upbeat music right there, man. Come on, man. We got to get something a little bit more.
All right, I got you. I got you next break. I'll get you ready.
It's morning time. It's 10 a.m. going on lunchtime. We got to get a little bit more excitement in this thing. Coach, you telling a great story about, your beginnings, how you got started, what you built at Southern, and what it takes to build what you had at Southern. I think a lot of people don't quite get a chance to hear those stories and understand just the job and the patience that it took to do that. But I think more importantly, you told the story of the patience it took somebody to have to deal and work with yourself to ultimately become the man that you are today, of these values and these morals that you believe in and that you have instilled in hundreds of thousands of young men over the years. And to be able to do that, to be a father figure to a lot of young men that didn't have that father figure at home. What was that like, talking to parents over the years and instilling that trust in them to understand, hey, bring him to me as a boy. When he leaves here, he'll be a man.
Well, in the beginning, it was more where I had more single mothers in the beginning who had tough kids, and they understood they had tough kids. And they said, Coach, take them and do whatever you can. Make a man out of them. That's what they said to me. See, parents right now tell you take your kid, but I'm going to tell you how to coach him. But those parents back then, those mothers, believe in it. And we had something also within the group with the players that they wouldn't let people quit for the most part. Mm-hmm. They kept saying, hang in there, man. Coach is tough, but you'll be okay. Well, if you don't train a person to go into battle, how are you going to win the war?
That's right.
You got to train them to be tough. You see? So when your opponent's be tough, you already have met that resistance before. Mm-hmm. You have. So that's why you have to be tough on training people in athletic competition in order to win the game.
How'd you ever deal with the parent, with what I would call the new age parent of what you're talking about today of, you can take them, but I'm going to tell you what to do with them. How did you deal with that? Because I know that could possibly be a tough slide as a head coach as well.
Well, that didn't work very well. It didn't work very well, and I'm glad I was out of the game at that point. When in the past I could meet one-on-one with a kid in my office. The last 4, 5, 6 years, I couldn't do that. I had to have an assistant coach there with me. Mm-hmm. Because you don't know what they may try. Mm-hmm. Or allege that you did to them. You got me?
I got you.
So you have to have always use the Bible example. Always have 3 people. If you're going to meet with somebody who could be combative, always have 3 people in there. One-on-one.
Your word versus my word.
That's right. You got another person in there, it's always to your advantage.
Let me jump here. You come in. How long did it take for success to reach you as a head coach at Southern? as the baseball coach?
Well, we should have won the championship in my second year, 86.
What happened there in 86?
Well, we had
what word shoulda is used?
You see, again, adversity. I had a bunch of young players, freshmen, that I recruited in 85. And back then they had you could run for the catcher, courtesy runner. Well, we catch a walk, we put a guy in doing senior. And then here come my freshman, Adele Davenport, hits a ball a mile out the park. The boy who was running for the catcher doesn't step on home plate. And the game we had won, we lost.
Off a simple miscue like that.
That was gut-wrenching for the players. And that was I told the kids, I said, we lost it, but we're winning next year. And I said, just trust in me. And then we came back as sophomore, we won. And that sophomore team beat Cal State Fullerton in New Orleans.
Talk about that, because that's the game I always hear about, especially when I came to Southern and I saw the tradition and the history of the baseball program. I had not met you yet, but I had heard and known the legend of you. But to be that team, especially at HBCU, going against a school like Cal State Fullerton, but to take away the HBCU title, but to be a great baseball team in which you led, what was that like to, as a coach, to realize everything you had put into place at that point had finally gotten you to a spot to where it was something to celebrate?
Well, the kids remember, back in 1985, under the north goalpost on the practice football field, I gave a speech. They remembered that when they talked. I said, when history is written, you guys are going to be in it. I knew I had a group of special players. I said, when history is written, you all are going to be in it. And they would have maybe done it in 86, but because of the senior miscue, they had to wait till 87. They were more prepared then. And they beat Cal State Fullerton, and it was a great victory. I started a pitcher who hadn't started all year. He was my closer, Al Ratliff. And the week leading off into before we played, we were practicing where the building is now. Didn't have a field. And Ratliff was doing the Muhammad Ali talk. Give me 1 run, 2 runs, and I'll beat him. Oh, my goodness. And I'm saying, oh, my. So he tells this to the media.
Oh, he's talking to the media doing this.
He did the Muhammad Ali. Give me 2 runs, and I'll beat him. Oh, so, boy, there's a guy who was a Channel 2 broadcaster. He's ESPN now, and he do football, and he's from Shreveport. Give me his name, somebody. No, I can't think of his name. But he interviewed me, brings me into the studio, interviewed me, and said, what are your chances of beating Cal State Fullerton? Well, I'm having fun. I said, well, I hope those California boys come to New Orleans and they go down in the French Quarter and it's 100-degree humidity.
Because Louisiana humidity is not nothing to play with.
And
you
it
got to
was
be
May
ready.
20-something. So my thing is, what happened?
I'm not sure I understand.
Jehovah delivered with the humidity.
Is that your phone, Coach? Let's see. Is that Siri trying to talk to you? Siri want to get in on this.
Yes, I tell you. So he delivered with the 100% humidity. But the guy said, the sportcaster said it'll be a cold day in hell if Southern have any chance to win. Well, my wife
Really?
and she got blew up, and she called the station. I said, don't. She said, I will refuse to let him say that.
Yeah. How you going to write me out?
Yeah, well, I said, don't worry about it. Well, we go to New Orleans, and it's 100% humidity. Just like I asked for. And it's sweating. We sweating BBs. And Al Ratliff goes and Al Radcliffe did what he was supposed to. He threw one ground ball. We were not a good fielding team.
A lot of errors.
Yeah, all year, a lot of errors. He threw one ground ball. All was strike out and fly out. And with the bases loaded, with 1 out, no outs, they hit the only ground ball. Back to Radcliffe. He throws home. Home throws to first. We get 2 outs. And the next guy we get pop up. And then the next inning, we beat 3 fly balls and it's all over. Those California kids were dragging in that humidity.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked for 100% humidity, and I got it.
Right, what the doctor ordered, right?
I don't know if they went downtown on Bourbon Street, but I got the humidity. I said all I wanted to do is be 100% humidity.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it. But so...
Did you shed a tear that day? What was for you to relive that moment, what was that like in terms of the excitement that day? Because I'm pretty sure to see your guys be the underdogs, the media writing you off, your wife saying, no, not my husband, not this team, and then to be able to go out there and see that you guys were able to do it.
I knew this team had possibility.
Mm-hmm.
We just was a little short on pitching, but I knew position-wise, all of those guys just about got drafted. So I knew we were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So the next year we went into Texas, the Longhorns. They're number 1 in the country.
Yeah, I grew up knowing about the Texas Longhorn baseball team.
9,000 people screaming from the first to the last pitch. And we took them to the 8th inning and got out of the 8th inning, and the umpire made a bad call.
Did you step out and go have a word with him?
Well, we picked the guy off at 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And Gus Gustafson said, I can't believe that umpire changed the call.
Oh, they changed the call?
Yeah.
Oh.
Said he had called, there were timeouts.
Little home cooking going on, huh?
And the next guy hits a ball right down the line, knocked in 2 runs, and they beat us by 2 runs.
Pretty sure you had that stadium quiet for a good
Oh,
piece.
no, it was, what a great situation.
Let me ask you this. Over the years, not only your venue at Lee Hines Field, in which you helped architect and build, but what has been perhaps, what would you say, the most hostile environment that you had to field the team and go in to compete in? Because it's just some places, when you go, they say this place, it's not necessarily the physical game, it's the mental aspect of having to deal with the fans and everything that comes around it with the fanfare that can typically get a team thrown off.
Well, in 2003, Southern Miss tried that. We were playing at Southern Miss in the regional.
Mm-hmm.
They were number 6 in the nation. We played them. And they were using the N-word.
Really? This is the type of environment you had to deal with in 2003. Yeah.
What was even more disturbing about that situation, the person who was using it was the chaperone for us.
Never saw that
They
one coming.
Southern Miss had that guy as the chaperone. Could never dream that. And when I turned my back and saw it was him, my heart almost fell in my hands. Because I only thought, what did he give the kids? Did he give the kids something? Anybody who was that volatile is danger of doing anything.
Yeah, can't trust him.
Can't trust him. I mean, he would say that N-word in that setting, the way he said it, multiple times, over and over and over and over. And Southern Miss never went and ejected them people.
Nobody had anything to say.
I had some fans that wanted to fight, but I went to the dugout and told my players, this is the challenge you're facing today. Don't lose your cool. Let's get them on the field. And we got them. We beat them 6-5, I think, or 6-4.
I like that. Come
I like
on now.
that.
Don't get me excited.
I like
that's
that.
adversity. And being able to be a coach and seeing this and being able to still get your team to tune that out, because typically when you go on the road and they think you the small school, you can't handle this, they'll pull any stunt to try to throw you off your game. And that seemed to be what that fan at Southern Miss was trying to do. Man,
it wasn't just him. It was once he
plenty.
did it, several other people did it. And every time he say, "Hey, Big N," I never turned around and looked. I made myself stay focused. I never turned around. And I let the NCAA people know it. I gave them an ear after the game.
Yeah, somebody should have stepped in.
Yeah, well, the NCAA should have stepped in.
Yeah, at that point.
They should have stepped in. But this is why you got to be careful when you put people in position like the NCAA put. People who are like those people, they're not going to go in and challenge them because they were like those people.
Like-minded, huh? Birds of a feather flock together, as they say.
So he felt it was better for us to take the abuse than to go make that man stop giving it to the kids. See, he didn't protect the integrity of what the NCAA stands for, and it's all about protecting the student athletes.
Yeah.
Make sure they have a beautiful experience. You got me? In a good competitive situation. See, that guy didn't do that.
Oh.
You see. And I see some of that kind of stuff happen today, like there are people who let Donald Trump do some things they shouldn't. And look what he's caused. He's caused a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. You can't let that go away because this generation of people are going to be hurt by that type of action.
Let me ask you this. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, the conference in which Southern has competed in, the conference in which you won plenty of conference championships. For you getting your team together, especially to be prepared to go take on these regional games and getting victories, what was the competition like in the Southwestern Athletic Conference for you, and have you seen it evolve from the early days of then?
Well, when the competition was very good in the 80s. It was very good in the 70s when I played. Mm-hmm. And in the 60s, it was good because all the historical black school black kids had nowhere else to go. So they went to historical black schools. And baseball was big in the black community back then. And then I started seeing the drop off around the mid-90s. It became harder and harder. Even though my teams thrived until 2009. From 1985 to 2009, that's over 20-some years. Mm-hmm. My teams really did well. We were consistent. We had good players. And for some reason, even after Ricky Weeks won the Golden Spikes Award, which is the highest honor a kid can win in college baseball, it became tougher to get black kids. It was tough. When I say black kids, the good ones.
Yeah.
They would go to a lesser known school or junior college, but they wouldn't come anymore. And it wasn't because I could coach less. I was a better coach then.
Who were the teams in the conference back then that used to give you fits? Did you have a
Jackson
rivalry?
State, Grambling, Alcorn had really good baseball players. And then Texas Southern had good players.
Yeah, traditionally, still to this day, they'll give you a pretty tough game.
And Arkansas, in spots, could do something, But mainly, we had the Grambling, the Texas Southern, Jackson State, Alcorn. They were going to be the teams,
And did any of those coaches back then, because, of course, these schools, most of them are low-resource institutions. I'm pretty sure a lot of those coaches had to deal with a lot of situations like you when you talk about facilities. Did any of those coaches ever reach out and say, Coach, I see what you're doing down there, the success and what you're able to build? Did anybody say, hey, man, do you have the blueprint for this for maybe myself?
Them coaches weren't going to do that, man. You're fooling yourself. It was too much work.
Yeah.
It was too much work, too much disappointment. Why would they do it?
Yeah.
They didn't have the same dream and desire that I did.
And that patience you talked about.
Yeah, well, yeah, patience too, yeah. They didn't have that kind of, nobody reached out about that. When I told them, they asked me how I did, I told them, they just laughed. People are easily discouraged, man.
Yeah.
People are easily discouraged. Just put an obstacle in front of them. Put one in front of me, I'm going to kick it on the side. Mm-hmm. That's just the way I looked at things.
And back then, too, we live in this instant gratification world of today. To be able to have that patience then and somebody sit there and allow you that amount of time to build it. It's kind of harder today when people want what they want now and not really have that endurance to be able to build and see a long-term vision.
It's tough. It's tough. Longevity is tough. For me to stay 40 years in one place, people don't do that anymore. I had to overlook a lot, and Southern was known for being a political situation, and I wasn't from a chosen family, which is also important. You know, all of those things. But there was an advantage for me simply because I was able to go under the radar and get things done. And I just want to thank the business community for really being there for me. The business community really paid big dividend for me.
First show, Coach, chopping it up with Roger Cador, yourself, man. How has it been today, you dealing with me? Was I easy? Was I all right?
You okay.
Okay, I like that.
We could get better. We're going to get better. Today we just venture off into a lot of things. Now we've got it out of the way. We can talk about more things with substance and not just about me. There are other things I want to talk about. We've got the playoffs in baseball coming. We got college football, professional football. But the college, baseball is really, they got 10 more games left in regular season. And now the playoffs start. So we'll be able to really dive into that.
Yeah, that's right. And I wanted people to know you. Because for a younger generation, they may not quite know who the legend of Roger Cador is. You know, my generation, man, we lose stuff after 10 years and forget about stuff, man. So it's good to be able to sit here and do this show with you. And you didn't call me PJ not one time today.
Keep it up.
All right, for everybody that's tuned out there, be sure to tune into the YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with Cador, Roger Cador. Go and subscribe as well as follow Coach Cador on all the social media sites, Facebook as well as Instagram. You can follow me, Perry White, on Facebook. I'm Where Is Perry on all the other social sites. Be sure to tune in. We're going to do this every Monday at 10 a.m. Myself, Perry White, the legend himself, Roger Cador. We want to thank you guys for tuning in today. And be sure to come back and share. You can always go back and watch this show. If you don't get a chance to catch it live, you can always catch it on the playback on our YouTube channel. And subscribe. It is free. It's not like Netflix. You don't got to pay $2.99, $6.99. Hit that subscribe button as well as share and let everybody know what we're here doing to be able to hear what this man right here next to me has to say, because it is truly remarkable of the stories and the experiences that he has to share. So as always, he's Roger Cador. I'm Perry White. It's Chopping Up with Roger Cador. We'll see you guys next week.
And don't forget Aaron.
Aaron!